That was horrifying. Okay, so we're now live. We're broadcasting to the world, and this is going to be this is the very first Movies We Like late night Lonely Hearts movie clutch. Follow up Google Hangout. We're very excited to be on the Google Plus. This is really it's a pretty novel thing. Don't you think, gentlemen?
It's high tech.
It's high tech. One would think it's high tech. So I'm very excited to be here. What we're doing here, we did for those of you who listened to the show, the podcast last night. Andy and I, Andy, hi, how are you? Say something to the good people.
Hey everybody, how are you guys? Welcome to those who.
We're really good.
Welcome.
We did the show last night. We talked about Prometheus, and you know, it was what would you say? It was a contentious conversation. Almost came to blows.
Contentious.
We did that thing. We did that 3, 2, 1 countdown thing, and there was a gap.
Just because we disagreed doesn't make it contentious.
It was contentious because
we had our dukes up.
I thought you both were very polite.
Well, that's very gracious of you to say that, Mike.
Contentious for the 1700s. We had our gloves out. We were slapping each other across the face.
And so what we decided to do for these big movies, what we'd like to do more and more of, if there are people who are at all interested in being part of this conversation, is to do more of these Google Hangouts and invite people that we like and know and comment handily and are famous in their own way. To join us in this conversation. So we've got this is our first set of regulars that I'm thrilled to introduce. Chad, why don't you go first? Why don't you say something to the good people?
Well, as you can see my name at the bottom of the screen.
I can't.
Yeah, I know.
I think you turned it off. Is it not working for you either?
I don't know how to get in. Oh, yours doesn't work either?
No, mine's dumb broken.
You got to turn it on.
There's a little on.
Don't use that finger.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How to turn it on? Use your
little tickle. Use the tickle finger.
Look, the penis vagina.
Chad, you
What's
need
the rating of this show? I just want to know what the rating is. Is it like a G, R?
No.
That's a very good point.
We're gonna have to see
Kids are gonna be on the show?
How this shakes out. It's a late night coffee clutch. I have no problem making it sort of after hours.
Many times already.
I have. That's what late night. Doesn't late night imply a rating?
Right. Late night. I think so.
So we'll use that as a safety net. Chad, tell people why your hair is looking like it is. Did you just wake up? Are you? This is.
I rushed over here in a frazzle, and then I couldn't get the internet to work. So that's partially.
Yeah.
I ran here.
That sounds.
So this is what it looks like with my. This is my. I just ran here look.
It looks good. No, it suits you.
Also, I auditioned for the part of an alcoholic whose wife just cheated on them today, and that's why the gun. So I've had a really hard day of crying in front of people I don't know.
That's a downer.
Yeah, and then my son comes in. I'm actually pointing the gun at my wife, who I just met.
You know, we should say, before, Chad Stoops, why don't you tell people, why don't you say for the record where the people can find you and learn more about your
you
hobbies.
Can go to the site, chadstoops.com. It's spelled with 2 Ds and 2 O's. I'm an actor, comedian, writer, and now I judge other people's movies with you guys.
He's the one with the gavel.
I'm glad you said that because so far nothing that you have brought to the table has been really very funny.
Thank you.
So that was your first start. It's been kind of a downer. And so, all right. So on to Mike. Mike Evans, tell us a little bit about yourself, confused listener. We're just glad you're here.
I am a confused listener, and more importantly, I'm not involved in the industry at all in any way. So I'm neither actor nor director nor production fantastic person. And because of that, I have just criticisms, and I also have a gun. So my gun.
Nice gun.
But no, I'm literally just a listener, and I feel like, as I have said before to Andy, I feel like I am in like a coffee house when you guys are talking, and and I'm yelling. And I keep yelling, and you never respond. I don't know why. My wonderful things that I say, and you never listen to me. So it's very frustrating.
Well, this is going to be your big shot to see what we would say when the hard.
and then you'll never invite me back again. But you'll be okay, and I understand. And
Hey, Mark,
just
Mike, is it okay if I don't listen to you, but then I use your ideas? Like I don't respond to you at all. Is that okay?
That's no problem.
That's not a problem at all. Andy, you should do something because you've got your little lower third up that doesn't seem to work for some of us.
Yes, I do. So yes, Andy Nelson. You can find me at Soda Creek Film, and I'm a regular with Pete on the Movies We Like show. For those of you who randomly found this Google chat and have no idea what you're in for. Yeah, and I don't know what else. I have no gun. I feel.
Andy, do you have any tobacco? Or are you just the alcohol and we have firearms?
That's right. I've got the booze. Well,
okay, got booze
Nice.
and firearms.
We have 2 firearms and 2 alcohol.
But we have no, which is probably enough, frankly.
That's good.
Smoking
For our health.
Peter's got wine? You drink wine when you talk about movies, Pete?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I should
He
say
brings the glass.
I should say for the
Pete.
record that I'm also so significantly sunburned, sun-stroked. One could say that I may be just a hot mess by the end of the show.
You look like a lush, actually. You don't look like you're sunburned.
That's actually probably a guy should keep drinking because that completes the disguise.
It
You're
totally
definitely the hue of red right now.
Yeah, don't adjust your set.
Hey, just real quick, just to let you know, the movie that I was in, Surrogate Valentine, is now on Netflix and it's streaming.
I'm so glad you said that.
Which either means...
It's good, right? So streaming is
You were
good. That means
supposed to say
people
that
like
when you
it.
had your turn, Chad.
What?
You're supposed to say that when you had your turn.
Oh, I'm so... That didn't count?
You have to bring notes to the show.
Sorry.
You should finish that thought. I'm very proud of you that your big film is on there.
I'm excited.
Surrogate Valentine. Tell us more? Who were the other people that you were with?
Go Nakamura and Lin Chen, and it's a feature film about me, an actor. I play an actor in the movie, and then Go Nakamura, who plays himself.
And you directed it?
So I'm going to ask, is it hard to play
Directed
an
by
actor?
Dave Boyle. So I go on?
So I'm just going to ask, is it hard to play an actor?
It's not hard to, well, if you're playing a B-list, I play a C-list actor in this, and so yeah, that was a real challenge because I'm amazing.
All right. Let's. Does anybody else have a new film on that is streaming on Netflix, or should we move on?
Of the 4 of us, how many have movies?
And how many have movies that are streaming on Netflix?
I was just excited.
I would like to. I'd like to jump into this movie. That's what we're doing here, and I think this is. I think this is important because I feel like we need some. We need some balance. Andy and I did the 3-2. Should we do the 3-2-1 thing and just shout out our numbers again?
Yeah.
Because mine hasn't changed. Who would like to begin? Let's see, Mike.
8.
You get to go first here. You're
8.
the one who gets so frustrated about people yelling at things. Tell us, what do you think of this movie, and how did it shake out for you?
Okay, so I've been reading the Cavill and stuff and the insanely hilarious. I can't remember the name of it now.
Movies in 15 minutes.
Yeah, that one. Oh my God, I could not stop laughing. That was. It almost echoed exactly everything that I was thinking while I was watching the movie. And you're sitting there going, "This isn't like someone who else thinks exactly like me." But the problem, I don't know. The problem I had with the movie was, and I was challenged today to sort of prep somebody who has watched alien films and had not seen it yet, and I was like, "Oh, you need to go see it," but don't get too up on it. Like, you really like the alien movies? Well, temper your expectations a little bit because it looks fantastic, but and I didn't want to spoil it for him, but I kept finding myself caveating all the character development pieces that I didn't want him to get too high before he'd watch it because to a certain extent I think he'd be a little disappointed. And I had to just stop ripping apart the movie in my head as I'm watching it with the character pieces because you guys touched on most of it. But But what got me was obviously the visual effects, but the little pieces that they didn't tell you enough about. It's like they threw something out there, and you try to figure out whether it's did the writer forget something, or are they leaving breadcrumbs, and is this going to be something that I need to pay attention to? And so I found myself watching the framework of the movie more than the actual people running around in it. And I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's what I found myself when I was after I've been thinking about it. I'm interested in the goo, and I'm interested in the murals, and I'm interested in the spaceships. In fact, that one's an oval and the other one's a horseshoe, and all this other stuff, but not the people. And you just kind of ignore them a little bit and go. The one question I had is, why would somebody who's been making movies forever, these people who've been making movies, like they make movies, Ridley Scott makes other non-sci-fi movies, they know how to make movies. How did they not sit there? How could they not come to the conclusion that why are there 17 red shirts in this movie, and why is it that it's so obviously not developed? I mean, I'm a schlock, and I'm sitting there going, hey, this sucks.
I could not agree more. It was totally baffling. Totally baffling. And this is the problem. I'm trying so hard to find a way to say it without seeming like a complete tool. So I recognize that I am a tool when I say it out loud. I think the problem with the movie is that I think us as consumers give our money and our trust to these storytellers to tell us a good story. And when we have faith in people like Ridley Scott and Lindelof and the cast, which we by and large know and trust, and like their other work, when there are these glaring holes in it, they lose that trust. And that I find it's the tool part is that it's sort of insulting. It sort of insults our intelligence, and I think they, as a result, they took this movie out of the universe more than paid homage to it.
And I think it's telling, Mike, that you were so drawn to paying attention to like all of the other elements in the story. You were really trying to look at all the mythos and see what all those little tiny things were, and paying attention to that framework rather than the characters, because the characters were just not working as well as they should have been. And I think if the script had really been rock solid and the characters in the story were just, miles ahead of where they ended up, it would have been one of those films where you watched the story and you couldn't take your eyes off of what was happening in the characters, and then later you'd go back and start catching all of those little bits of the mythos and everything.
So there's only one thing I can think of that has sort of been boiling in the back of my head, and I haven't been really able to articulate it other than I don't know if we're missing something. Like so we've been watching Alien since '79. We're familiar with the universe. We're familiar with the people. We're familiar with all the backstory. You guys have been talking about it for a month, and
don't sound so
I'm 4 days over a month. How's that? 4 days. But
you guys have been droning on and on.
And so there's like pieces of this that I got the feeling from a writing or from the directing or whatever, from the movie standpoint, that they fast forwarded. Like they're like, yeah, you know about interstellar travel. Yeah, okay. Yeah. You know about other planets. Okay, we don't have to introduce you to the concept of a spaceship going across the galaxy. We don't have to explain or introduce to you the concepts of androids and robots and aliens and other beings and things. We just really, let's just highlight them and go, yeah. Alien, drinks goo, makes Earth, makes life. Fast forward, we're here somehow. Nobody met. That's okay. We're just here. We're just going to talk about it. And yeah, you know all that. But look at the graphics. It's great. And I got that feeling like I don't know if we're being too critical or if they're like, well, okay, we need to reintroduce this to a new generation who may not have watched this over the last 20 years. But they understand that kids today, young people, they understand what this means. So we don't have to spend the one thing I thought about was, and I'm taking a ball all the time. I apologize, but the 2001, how much time they spent on the shot where they're transferring people up from Earth to the space station. You know, it's agony. It's like forever. Like just the pen floating in the air and the things that they did to show. Oh, this is someone because they had never thought about that before. How do you get up into space?
It was marvelous. That was incredibly novel.
But now, if I were to spend 10 minutes or 15 minutes in a movie about weightlessness in space, we'd be like, okay, where's my other 9.5 minutes? You know, it's like, okay, I know that. I know how this all works. Let's move on. Right.
That's why the reveals, I think, in this movie were so good. I mean, don't you agree that the reveal of the actual ship, it took, 30 seconds, but the way they architected that reveal was perfect. They didn't have to show us all that much more.
Which, again, is, I remember you talking about that it was beautiful, because it's, it's, again, the scenery, it's the background, it's the, oh my gosh, look how they did that with the cool thing, and he's standing up, and it looks awesome, but, who cares about anybody, about the people, so. I don't know if they just, okay, it's a horror movie. I've told you that there's 17 people in this thing, 16 are going to die, you know it. And they didn't even introduce them. Okay, so they didn't introduce them to each other. They didn't introduce them to us. They spent no time on even letting us know who these people were. I mean, because they know we're going to kill them.
That's why I wonder if this is if this was a. I don't know where to start kind of examining it, because at what point does it fall apart? I mean, Chad, you're an actor. Is this an actor's problem?
First of all, I want to apologize for the really loud Fiesta music going on. I don't know if you hear that every once in a while.
No, I think it's great.
You do? It adds?
I don't even know what that is, but I love it.
But, no, I mean, this would have been a really good episode of Fraggle Rock, I think, because...
Okay, wait, are you talking about Prometheus now?
Yeah, not the Fiesta music. Fraggle Rock. No, because, it just, I guess from an actor's point of view, I was watching it feeling really sorry for Charlize Theron. Theron, did I say her name right? Charlize? Theron. If you're watching this, Charlize, I'm really sorry for butchering your name. Did Mike just leave?
Yeah, I think you said something about Charlize Theron and he got
Darn it.
Don't worry, he's back.
No, but oh, hey, Mike.
Don't ever hit backspace.
Sorry. No, but I thought from an actor's point of view that, and just watching it as an actor, I thought it was very difficult. It must have been difficult for those actors after signing on to this, thinking Ridley Scott is directing this, that the words that they're going to be saying are going to, produce something that makes some sort of sense. It was really hard. It was almost like watching a bunch of people sort of like, I felt like they went into this not even getting a script, it looked like, because it looked like the choices that they had to make as actors seemed really, if they knew what they were doing, like, for example, the captain on the spaceship, on the ship, do we use spaceship anymore? On the spaceship, he just that dial, it just blew my mind when he's like, hey, we're gonna, like, nonchalantly, I guess, because you said so, we're gonna kill ourselves for the sake of Earth. And then the two guys that you hardly ever see go, we're with you, Cap. And I'm like, man, that must have been time. I mean, it seemed like they didn't even have the dialogue till that day. And they're like, we got to say this? And I don't know. I mean, maybe there's a whole different script that they were going on, and that made sense. But I was like, wow, how do you get to that point? As an actor, you go, why? What's the reason? There's no reason for. I mean, they're just things like that throughout the whole thing. I felt sorry for them because there wasn't a reason, and you're always looking for reasons to do and things because you're being exploited as an actor when you do movies like this, that are ridiculous, that don't. And I don't mean it. I don't mean to say ridiculous in a. I'm not trying to be just mean to the movie because I was telling, as I said to you, Pete, it was like as I was watching the movie there. In the middle of the movie, and it's probably like 1 in the morning when I'm watching it, and trying to watch it in 3D, and all of a sudden I hear this guy behind me go, "Why?" Like he whispered, like, "Why?" Like after like the 12th ridiculous thing happened, and I was like, "I agree. Why?" So yeah, I think as an actor, it must have been very difficult for them to do what they did. I don't know what they even think of it.
As a viewer, I think I was doing that throughout the whole movie. Okay, so it's not new. It's familiar in a sense. You know, we've been through space movies for lots of years now, and you sit there and going, I would not do that in that situation. You know, it's so many times. You know, what? Why would they? Why would? Oh, okay, the one that got me was the geologist getting lost. Okay, I mean, literally, and the way that they cut it, the way that they spliced it was like they're all getting back, and then suddenly they're like, oh, we need drama. You two, you're gonna be lost, but that's not in the script. We'll fix it in post. You're lost now. And
those guys could not have died fast enough for me.
Oh,
really.
no, yeah.
Yeah, and it just like it looked like it was forced in the movie. Like they're suddenly like, oh yeah, now you're gonna be lost. Like, okay, we traveled trillions of miles. We can't pick up two guys in a storm. I mean, I don't understand how well. And everyone's okay with the fact that you're just going to camp down for the night in this strange place. No problem. It's what we normally do on these expeditions. Just, and you're like, no, that's not exactly all what would happen. I don't know why you're doing it.
Coincidentally, they decide to camp in the room right next to the decapitated body, which is why they ran off in the first place. They have this body lying here. They're like, I'm out of here.
But,
and they bail. And then they come back.
You mean we're stuck here?
We need to camp here for the night. Let's cuddle up right by this dead body with all this black goo that's oozing out of these jugs.
In the 7 minutes it took for them to get lost, they suddenly are okay with it.
Yeah.
You know, literally, they've overcome their fear in the 7 minutes, and they're like, oh, I'm good now. Oh, this actually doesn't weird me out at all.
It takes time for people to adjust, you guys.
Didn't they leave first? Weren't they like, I'm getting out of here?
As soon as they saw the decapitated body, they were like, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, and then they left, and how did they end up being still in there when everybody else left after them 20 minutes later or whatever?
You think it's probably literally a straight line. It's like, we came in this way, I will go back out this way. No, I'm going to wander around, two of us are going to wander around lost.
Well, especially on a ship that's a circle that's not a circle. Right? It's how did they come back to the same place? They had to have gone out and then chosen to turn around and walk exactly the way back.
So
they had sack lunches.
You're freaked out of your mind. You're walking out of a building, right? You take a couple of turns that you didn't realize. You got a communicator that goes back to the ship that's got a map of the entire place. Don't know how to use it anymore.
And you're the guy who drew the map.
Exactly.
You're the guy responsible for the map.
I mean, yeah. There's literally a dude on the other end of 911 with a 3D map and positions of you and everything that you would need to get out. I've forgotten. What is that? No, I forgot now. So
static. They're static. We can't talk about it. All right. So, I mean, really, Andy, is this still a 7?
I don't know. It might have. I was thinking about this actually while I re-listened to the show today. I'm just like, it's at least gone down to a 6. At least come down to a 6.
Wait a minute, Andy, you thought it was a 7?
I thought it was a 7.
It's because I enjoyed it. I've enjoyed talking about it. Chad, you didn't listen to the
You've enjoyed making fun of it? That's why it's a 7.
No,
it's a 7 for you.
There's a lot of problems, but it has created a lot of thought. And reading that article by Cavalorn, I really like where he's going with it. And despite all the stupidity in the film, I think that there is a lot of really interesting things. It's very flawed, but I think that they actually did some really unique things with telling this story and making something that's more than just a crappy sci-fi horror or action movie, whatever you want to term this as.
That's a point I would like to hear you guys talk about, particularly Chad and Mike, because Andy and I talked last night about this idea of how I sort of put it in the context of a grudge match, that's the way I needed to hear it, right? That, the writers and Ridley Scott were trying to shoehorn these two very different ideas into this film. And it felt like there was this idea of we're going to do Space Jesus, and, we also should throw some aliens in and make it kind of scary because it's in that universe. Was it too much, or is there a way that you could have made peace with this film in some way, shape, or form?
So wait, Pete, let me hear that again. You were saying from what you were reading, because I haven't read into a whole lot of stuff, but you were saying they were adding sort of religion to it?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of the
Well,
I guess
religion
you can
plays
go
into
ahead.
that. I mean, there's definitely a lot of religious references, Chad. I mean, obviously she's
Yeah.
kind of the religious, spiritual character. She has, she's unable to have children, but then she gets pregnant.
Right.
On Christmas, in space.
You guys added the Christmas thing.
Yeah,
What?
and then there's the.
Are you
It
kidding?
was not actually Christmas.
There was.
He said it was Christmas. He did a Christmas tree.
Oh, I thought that's just because they were far from home. Was it really
No,
Christmas?
it starts off, and the date that it gives you is December 24th.
You're right. It is Christmas.
Still, she says
okay.
it's New Year's Day.
Okay, that's
Uh-huh.
But it was Christmas because she
A
had
bridge too far for Mike Evans. A bridge too far.
That's just inelegant.
You said that to
Yeah.
Ridley Scott.
Really?
You know, that's
The tree. Come on.
But Chad, one of the religious things that
No, I saw that too, but I didn't know that. I didn't know that was the reason why it was so disjointed. But
But the question is, does that make the movie more or less appealing to you? And is there a way they could have with I don't know, maybe the word is finesse. They could have finessed all of these concepts into one film in a way that actually made sense. Because what you both have said, Mike and Andy, that after reading the Cavalier and stuff, that I think you have some affinity to those ideas. Right, the context of that makes some sense. Is there a way that they could have done this that would have made you happy?
Yes, and there's a way that they could have done it, and honestly, they should have done it, because, and this is where I think as time goes by, I'm going to find myself getting farther away from the movie and probably closer to that 4 of yours rather than the 7 that I started with, specifically because I think the Cavalier article in my head is really what I wanted the movie to be, and as time progresses, I'm going to just get farther away from it because I know that that's not what really the film was.
I could clarify for you probably. It's because we spent an hour and a half after the movie talking about it, and you had already seen it once, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So a lot of it's the conversation, the discovery, the figuring it out. So let's just say you take that to its logical conclusion. You finally get to a point where you kind of feel comfortable with what the movie's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's left of the movie? I mean, now the movie's just a bunch of cool special effects in space, and you sort of exhausted all the mental workout that it was.
Well, but then the joy, I guess, comes in rewatching it and re-exploring those things, time and time again. I mean, I think that's why people go back to movies, so often to re-experience those sorts of things and look at it from different perspectives.
I had a comment on this thing that actually I thought was interesting to that point, which was this movie is far more interesting to talk about than to watch.
Well,
I agree.
to that, yeah.
Well, okay, I think what saddens me the most is we're talking about something that when we watch this movie, we're always thinking in the back of our heads, wow, I wonder if we'll ever know what cool thing happened here before. And now it's like, okay, so basically this guy who ate something from an alien that didn't like him, or no, I guess an android that didn't like him because small things come from big things or whatever, then he turned into something and made whoopee with the girl he liked, and then she got pregnant to have a squid that then stuck his tongue in this guy that's bigger than us to make the alien to... But that's not the story that I was hoping to see, I guess. That's not even...
is the fundamental problem I was having last night that I have not resolved.
How do you tell that to your kids? How do you tell... You can't. That's like, it's not even, they're going to say, can you go back to the thing with the tongue?
What about the tongue, Daddy?
Tell us about the tongue again.
My kids are already doing that. Like Let
me tell you how aliens are born.
What kind of a kiss is it, Dad? Is it a normal kiss or is it an eat your face kiss? This is an eat your face kiss movie. I'm not kidding.
It just makes my stomach turn because it's like you want to know history. History is always what makes it cool. And the cool thing about Alien, the first movie, is it was a simple thing. This one thing impregnates you, and you end up having an alien. You're like, wow, that's a scary concept. But then you go back, and it doesn't make. I guess it doesn't make sense even if you're trying to look at it from the point of view of how these things made the alien, because first of all, you've got the goo, and the goo produces a monster, but you have to eat the goo to also have sex to make that a monster as well. I don't understand that part.
That's a different monster.
Is that a different one?
No. It's like if you eat the goo and you have sex before the goo takes you over, you make one type of monster. And then that monster makes an egg, and then face hugs you, and that makes a different monster. It's like literally.
I feel like we're 6 years old. I feel like as we're talking like this, it sounds like we're 6 years old, like trying to explain how our game works.
No, that's true. That's what's happening.
It's just that, like, it's like I'm wondering if when he came up with his idea, like Ridley Scott's like, no, the goo, you have to eat it first.
You have to eat the goo.
You have to eat the goo first.
And then with the sex and the goo.
But do they all have to eat the goo, or can we do some other type of sex with the goo? Yeah, we'll have them eat you, and then something else will come out.
No, I would have been more excited if you would have taken a knife.
Different monsters. Based on at what point before or after sex you are eating goo.
We've been dealing only with one monster. We need to, merchandising requires us to have more monsters. We need, this many monsters.
All about the merchandising.
You can get the goo or the monster?
Oh, my goodness.
Well, okay, so
All right.
I want to throw this out there, and with no lead up, I want to see what you guys thought about this.
All right. Here's my prepared face.
Is the feeling that you had after watching this movie, you, Peter, because you Andy were 7 and you'll be in it 4 later, but when we look back on this, and more importantly, if Ridley Scott can squeeze 2 more movies out of this franchise as sequels, will we effectively have a Star Wars Episode 1? Where they tried to load so much pre-story in so that they could support other movie stuff that they forgot that they needed to focus on the story that they were in.
Well, I have a question back to you, Mike. If your thesis is correct, who is the Jake Lloyd? Is it the squid in the med chamber? The little squiggly little thing that gets pulled out with the pliers?
Right.
I think that I think that's I don't know if that's a funny question, and I don't know if it's an apt comparison, because there are so many things about this movie that just make you say, what the hell was that about? But the bottom line is this was a significantly better visual experience than Star Wars Episode 1 for me.
Okay, but think about what we thought about the Star Wars 1, and more importantly, you guys, I think at some point talked about if I remember correctly, the reordering, right? Mm-hmm. How do you show your kids the Star Wars series?
Yeah, we did talk about.
You eliminate the first movie
completely. You don't need it
because there's no character development. There's no characters. There's nothing in there that survives the movie as any import, except for all the stuff that they set up in the movie so that the other movies can exist. And I got that feeling after this, I'm like, okay, you remove all the people, and all the facts that remain are effectively what we're interested in. And they already know that they're going to try to make sequels out of it. That's what I'm interested in. It's like, okay, where are they going to go with all this stuff? Not what happened to the people, or what did the people's impact have.
Okay, so I have a I don't know if this is a philosophical. So we talk at length about this idea of universes, and how I made the case that it's actually a wonderful thing that we have this opportunity, and we have writers and directors who are interested in exploring the broader stories that are available to us in these universes. When we look at the Marvel universe, when we look at the Alien universe, I mean, we have these universi. And my experience with Prometheus is you were trying to explore a universe, and Lindelof has said a sequel to this movie does not necessarily get us to Alien, right? We know it doesn't necessarily. This could very well be just a forked path in the same universe. Fine. Is that what audiences are most interested in? Do you think we are able to grasp it, or are our expectations too sort of cemented to what has come before, that we're not interested in this universal exploration?
I don't need... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I want to know where the girl with the C-section and the head goes. Isn't that basically it?
Well, that's kind of it, right? I mean, that's the sort of
The lady with the stapled C-section and the head
and the head
flies away on a
How
ship.
do you tell your kids
Learn how
that?
to fly from, I don't know, the manual.
No, he's telling her. He's walking her through it. Now push the green button.
Learn how to play the magic
green
game.
button.
Push the egg buttons.
The egg buttons.
But see, do you see my point? I think this is is this why we're not interested? Because our expectations were so handily dashed by this movie?
Well, here's what I think. If I could just add my point here, this or my opinion, I think that that would be a great thing if anything, and I think like Mike had mentioned, like what you were watching, Mike, you'd said earlier, like, is there some sort of bit of like Easter eggy something in here that's going to be in some hidden topic that they add later on? And it's like, okay, we can think that way, but it doesn't allude to anything that allowed us to have that kind of fun in the first 3 movies where we're going, wow, or first couple movies at least, where you go, wow, this is really cool. It's like it could divert, but do we want to have more confusion? I guess is it about what we just saw? And I think that's probably what I would say is, like, I don't think it's. I'm not interested in seeing her go anywhere with that head. I'm not interested. I think that's what audiences are probably wondering too. Is like, why go see another movie? We have the people that went to go see. Well, I'm not saying that the majority of the people, but the people that know about Alien came to see that because they want to know the history. Now, I actually talked to people who never saw Alien, and they're like, no, I'd never seen it, but the preview was so awesome. And I talked to those people later, and they go, I didn't get it, and I don't even know if I care about where they go. I don't, I asked them, they said that they don't really care.
Let me ask you a question. Where do you guys stand on the use of before and after credits end credits for story material? Well, you think about it. I mean, this is one of those things. This is how the Marvel movies have been tied together of recent note, right? It's this idea where the credits roll, and then at the end of the credits, there's going to be something. Tony Stark and Sergeant Slaughter. What's his name? Not at all.
Sergeant Slaughter.
Nick Fury. There's going to be a meeting at the end of that. I mean, there's going to be some way to tie these movies together at the end of the credits. So there is this thing that you stay to the end of the credits because there's going to be some sort of action. And one of the things I hit at this movie was, because at the end of the credits of this movie there is a splash screen, right? We didn't talk about this at all.
We didn't talk about it last night.
That there is a splash screen that alludes to some other content, viral content that's going to be, available at some point in the future. I don't have it in front of me, but there's a date, and you're going to be able to see this video, Wayland video. But would it have changed the structure of the alien, the structure of the alien part of the story, if the birth of the next evolution of the alien monster as we know it happened after the credits, and the story itself ended before the credit roll, and everybody was dead?
Well, I mean, sure, it would have.
Would that have made the movie better? I'm just,
Oh,
as long as we're
there's a certain
drinking.
audience that stays after to see.
So that's what happens.
And to see afterward. the audience that stays after, people are going to wait. It's one of those things where that's the sort of thing that goes viral and people hear about it and all that. But when people see the end of the film and then the credits happen, the vast majority of people who leave the theater are not going to have that experience. And so I think it would have been, for most people, probably a better film because, like we discussed last night, not having that alien bit tacked on to the end, I think would have made it a better film because it doesn't feel like they're trying to, force this idea of the alien mythology into this particular film with these aliens. The way that they did it just
alien
His
goo
product tie-ins.
Oh,
alien goo cereal from the movie.
Mhm.
Tastes
It's
like
just a
goo.
black syrup.
It's like
It doesn't
Tastes,
say, it doesn't say
tastes like
crunchy in milk.
pants.
like
That-
Goo
it doesn't
Puffs
say
or
crunchy in
Choco
milk.
Puffs made with 10% simulated alien goo.
And emotion.
It'll
Well,
get your
All right, so I
DNA
feel like
rolling.
I lost a little bit of that, but Andy made a smart guy point. Can anybody else trump that?
Well, yeah. Go ahead, guys. Try.
I will say this: I did not have any issue with the last part of the movie. In fact, personally, I think that was like something that was a like a Jack in the Box type of thing that pretty much, at least from my standpoint, I was waiting for the whole movie. I was waiting for them to somehow tie what they've been doing for the last 2 hours with what we know what the first movie came from. How the crashed ship on the planet that Nostromo finds with the space jockey, and that's part of it. They reintroduced the space jockey from the first movie, and that was the tie-in. That was where they connected the two dots, not the alien beast. Because we've been waiting for 4 movies to find out who these people are and what they're doing. They got the whole freaking movie. This whole movie's about these guys. And what I want to know is how, and literally after the movie was done, I'm sitting there going, okay, all right, there's going to be 700 million generations where these things are like all eating themselves and then embryoing themselves or some other stupid like crap ship things, and they all like modify themselves. Somehow they're going to jump onto a ship, wake up another one of these things, and jump on, and they're going to be on that other planet where they killed him, and they're going to be in the egg forms that we're familiar with.
You're talking about the LV-426 version of the space.
Yeah, I mean, and literally for people who are not, anal like you guys, we have no idea. We just call it the other planet. So,
I think that was just a compliment slam.
Yeah, the not moon planet, the one that was in the original movie. It's like, okay, it was now it was the pilot chamber, okay, or it was in the other chamber. It was in the other chamber, and it wasn't jars. It was eggs, and they were all arranged just like the ones in the big headroom were. So
Okay, but here's the problem. Here's the problem with what you're saying right now is that I think that you just made an assertion that we have been waiting for 4 movies to find out what the hell is up with the space jockey, and my assertion is we have not. I don't think anybody has cared at all about the space jockey until Ridley Scott brought it up.
Yeah.
I think movie nerds
maybe.
have wondered what's going on with the space jockey.
Maybe movie nerds. Yeah, maybe.
But,
Well, here's-
but are movie nerds the ones that we're really selling to? I mean, the whole point is you go to the movie to get scared. And what we got with the initial Space Jockey and Alien was this opportunity to see, okay, yeah, here's the thing. If we trace back the dots to, we know we got sucked on by the face sucker or face hugger, and we got impregnated with in the chest, and so that probably happened to that other dude. All right,
Sure.
well, let's go on and try not to die.
Right.
Well, here's the question. Because if you watch the beginning of Alien, they go up to the space jockey and they say, or I don't know who says this. One of the, was it Chris Christopher? Who is it? Chris Christopher? No, Tom Skerritt. That's right.
Tom Skerritt.
He comes up to it and he says,
Chris Christopherson.
I
in that movie?
totally different person. Tom Skerritt, sorry. But he comes up and he says that the bones are facing out, like something had busted out of its chest, which is impossible according to the way that they did this film. It doesn't even match up to that space jockey.
Well, it's different.
But it matches up enough to the space jockey to John Hurt.
Mhm.
Andy, go. I'm sorry.
The space jockey, and this I think I've read quite a bit of confusion about this online. The space jockey, when his chest is burst open in this film, is not the space jockey that we see
Right.
in Alien. They're totally different space jockeys, and they've each had a totally different thing burst out of their chest.
Yeah. I wasn't
Okay.
implying that somehow there was the same deal. I was saying that again, the ending Alien wasn't important for me. It was like, it's black skinned. What I got from that was not The only thing I got from that was, okay, you mix this DNA up enough, and remember the implication is that we're the same. Well, not implication. They told us we're the same DNA as the engineers, with maybe smaller columns, but whatever. And so you have alien sex with infected people, and then have chest bursting enough times, and you're probably in 100 years going to get what we found on that planet, and what was horrifying. So that's what that little last scene told me. It's like, okay, somewhere eventually down the road, this is how it's going to happen. But maybe not directly, but that's where my brain wanted to know. It's like, okay, that ship, it crashed. What was that ship story, and how was it all the eggs put around? Where's the queen? That was, I think, before they thought all that stuff out. But again, there's all these eggs. So what are they doing?
My impression from Alien, because those eggs are, it's so hard to really figure out, but they're under that blue, like, laser mist thing, right? Mm-hmm. And they don't activate. The eggs don't activate until John Hurt falls down below the mist, and the egg sends him.
So it's almost like a freeze ray, similar to like an atmosphere being opened up in the big headroom.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the parallel that they want to
yeah,
do. My case is, and Andy, this is for you, man, is this really the story that people were really interested in learning more about?
I don't know, but it's an interesting idea to have decided to explore. I just don't think that they ended up exploring it the way that it should have been explored. Going back to the comment that we had a couple episodes ago about Damon Lindelof talking about how an interview with I can't remember that reference.
Josh Topolsky.
Right, where he says that he's praising Ridley and how he really just kind of was the funnel for all of Ridley's ideas, and Ridley was such a genius. He just kind of took the ideas and essentially acted as Ridley's typewriter and typed it out, right? I kind of got the sense from listening to that and then watching the movie that maybe that was in some way Damon Lindelof's way of trying to get out there that I really didn't like the direction that the movie ended up taking. Ridley had a lot of ideas that I really didn't like. I'm in a very Coppola slammy sort of way going to pin it on him.
Man, that's dark.
How many arguments can this movie series survive between the direction and the producing and the writing casts? I mean, that was like number 3, right? 2? The David Fincher one. Well, it seems like
this one. Well,
it seems like maybe it's because they don't have source material. To a certain extent, they have to. They don't. It's not like they're adapting a book or a comic book or something that's been around for a long time. They're sort of the movie.
It's been around since 1976. How much more do they need?
I mean, but there's no. They don't have. It seems like the screenwriters are the ones making up the mythos or making up the canon, and it almost seems like there's not an agreement on what they really want to do. I mean, this movie has a bunch of stuff that it explored, but it didn't really say anything, and that's why when I thought about this the other day, it was like, this is setting up other movies. This is what it feels like. Is that there's not a lot of weight to this movie because it's not. There's too much that they try to pack in. There's too many things they try to plan things about, and none of them were character related because they knew they were just going to kill off, and you could tell they just didn't care. They're like, I'm going to introduce you. There's like these 5 people she hired. We're not even going to tell you their names.
She doesn't even know their names. She's never met them.
She doesn't know it, and they're the ones that are killed when the dude comes in from the thing, and he just wipes them out. We never knew who they were. Done. I mean, it doesn't. It's like literally you could tell that they're like, oh man, we can't spend a lot of time on character development when we're just going to kill these people. Let's just make it happen. Let's go.
Okay. I want to throw this question out there, and I want to ask who do you guys think had the best death?
Oh, that's a good one. That's probably the only relevant, really awesome question of the night.
The engineer in the first 2 minutes of the movie.
I want to say that Charlize had a really ridiculous cartoon death.
The I can't turn death.
Yeah, the one I got to outrun the thing that's bigger than faster than me. That was awesome.
I just want to know what that rock was made of that held up the entire spaceship that saved. What was her name? Now I can't remember her name.
Shaw.
Kryptonite.
Shaw. That rock.
They're gonna bring Superman in the second one, and that's why
that
you
rock
gotta be ready for it.
That rock was awesome because it stopped the whole ship from crushing her. And so it's like, and she's just like, whew, whoa,
Wow! Did you guys see that?
I'm obviously the
was
one that's going to survive this movie.
Yeah.
that was
Me and my staples.
Wherever we go, we're taking this rock with us.
I think Andy's comparison to what was it? The Mom and Dad
Saved the World.
Mom and Dad Saved the World comparison. Death was probably the best. The coochie coochie coochie. Look how great this penis vagina is.
Yeah. So Chad, a partner question for you is who's the scariest bad guy in the movie?
Ooh, the scariest bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
The scariest bad
Wait, was there a scary bad guy in this movie?
Oh yeah, it was the penis vagina thing. That thing. Let me tell you, when the okay, I will say this: the
You're gonna do the little
scene where
finger thing
Shaw.
again.
Now I know why I like it, right? So the scene where where Shaw was trying to get out of the medevac of the automated Metatron thing.
Automated.
Takes care of your babies, all of your baby needs.
Okay, so did anyone notice that it was what's her name, Vickers, that brought the thing, and it's for males only?
Mm-hmm.
It's because it was for Wayland.
Yeah, but she didn't know he was in the ship.
Yeah, she did.
Oh, she did?
Yeah,
At that
did you
time?
remember she and David had the conversation, and she said in the hall, she said, "What did he say?"
Yeah, you're right. Never mind. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Now, that was good though. That was a good conspiracy. You got to hang on to those things.
yeah, well, it's all I have. But so the scene where she's trying to get out of that thing and you don't know what's going to happen, that was tense. That was like
That was a
That
good
was
scene.
tense.
right?
I was, yeah.
But that monster was too, once it grew into like, I don't know, it ate its Wheaties and it
I
became
liked the name of
enormous.
the snuggler.
It wasn't.
It hugs you to death. It hugs you in kindness and then in
It
pregnancy.
looks so soft and cuddly. I just want to go coochie coochie coo.
But the snake thing where you
The
you
cute thing?
cut it off, and because what is it? The Cavalorn one said that because the goo like kind of massively enhances existing genetic traits. Worms can regrow bits of themselves. The dude cuts off a part of the thing, and it like super pops out a new head, and like immediately, like not even a little bit of time. Okay, so earthworms, right? Those are scary.
Yeah.
Literally. David was sinister. Wayland was, neglectful and malign, but really he just wanted to live forever. You got the other people around, but those little snake things were one of the only times I was like jumping out of my seat.
You're talking about when it like wrapped around his arm.
Yeah, but
That was scary. That was scary because when
Yeah.
it said when because that was the only time where you felt the real pressure from the characters that this thing is going to break my arm. When he says break my arm, and then it breaks his arm. Makes good on a promise of the scare, and
Yes.
there were far too many missed opportunities in that light. And
I was scared. That's where the movie actually presents a horror face to it. You're like, oh my god, that thing's going to, because we're watching it in 3D. Man, that thing's going to come out at me. And they cut it off, and it just like snakes up his suit, and then around the globe, and like that was scary. I have to admit. The rest of it was comical.
Well, they ran out of stupid people. They needed more stupid people to go to the lake of tar to go, oh, look at this cute little thing that we can pet. And
Yes.
it reminds me of a snake. And back home, snakes act like this. And what do we do with snakes? I'm like,
what do we do with snakes?
Really? What
I mean,
was he comparing that to? What was he comparing that to that was at all I mean, if it was a little rabbit, like a little bunny
Right.
came out of the water and is like,
Right.
oh, he's trying to say something, then I'd be like, absolutely.
If the goo fell in like a Care Bear and stayed in
that's
Care Bear form, and you're like, oh, it's
guy.
a Care Bear.
Well, and that's why if you haven't seen Andy's clip,
I did.
I haven't seen that I had never seen that movie, and so when I
Yeah.
saw that clip of the cute mushroom, that is such a perfect comparison.
You could literally cut that segment into Prometheus and remove the other bit, and you wouldn't even notice a difference.
And
You
you
would
would
absolutely notice a difference because it would be better.
That's
and
right.
you would have
been
improved
better.
the acting and the character development like tenfold.
True.
But see, I honestly think that Ridley Scott, and I do respect Ridley Scott, but I kind of think his head is still back in 1979 with bad guy, and good guy. I mean, like I don't understand how the bad guy could have been any more bad guy. Like, you know, if you're going to put a black hat on him. And
You were
maybe,
talking about the jelly-skinned engineers?
Yeah, the guy that died right away, he was just, I'm not taking this, and I'm not talking to you.
Oh, yeah.
He must be the bad guy. He must be.
But what's so, this is why I think that what's so another piece that I found was really interesting about this film was the way, they used David, because he was kind of the middle ground guy. Sometimes he was the bad guy, sometimes he was the good guy. I think they used him, and he was played very well. I mean, you guys not crazy about David?
Love
I
David.
didn't like David, but
You didn't like David? Why didn't you like
Love
David,
David.
Chad?
I don't think he was
the reason why I didn't, the only reason why I didn't like David is because it seemed like a couple times he was emotional when he shouldn't have been emotional. He said, "How would you feel if your creator said that when he was at the pool table, and he said, what I can't remember the comment."
The same thing
It was-
about you. Right. This is right after Holloway says, David asks him, Holloway says, why do you think we made you? Because we could. And
Yeah.
David's like,
Because how would you feel if your creator said that about you? And I thought, where does that kind of comment come from? And maybe it just came from,
how dare he speak to me that way?
yeah, it seemed like there was a personal, and then that's when he gave him the goo.
Do you think, to that point, do you think it's possible that it was not an emotion that was being displayed, but manipulation?
It could have been, but what was he doing to do that?
Because there's something on the was it the 15 minutes thing, the joke one,
Mm-hmm.
that I thought was interesting. It's like the way that she put it was I'm not going to do this unless you give me a good reason. And it's like, what do you think about that? Would you agree? It's like, yes. Would you do anything for this? Yes, anything. Anything? and it's like, well, yes, anything. Bloop. And it's like it's almost like it's a fail-safe in the Android programming. It's like the 3 rules of robotics. It's like you can't do any harm. And he's like, well, I can't kill him unless he asks for it. Well, so it's like remember he was watching all their dreams, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible that, and that's not obvious because they only show them watching Shaw's, but he referenced Shaw's dreams and he was manipulating Shaw. So it's possible he was manipulating first guy to die to
Holloway.
Whatever useless character to sort of like almost ask for it, I guess you could say, and then maybe the android would be like, well, okay, that makes logic. I'm not doing anything bad. He asked for it and things like that. So I think it was like, because the things he was saying to Shaw was like, you're like, oh my God, this guy's horrific. I mean, who would put this on a ship? This insane person with intelligence and no, the things he was saying to her. But obviously, he was trying to get a reaction out of her. So I'm thinking he was doing the same thing to him.
Maybe.
Maybe.
No, that's a good point.
I could be completely wrong. I may have thought about it more than they did, but
Well, I guess then I like David. What a guy, David.
I
He's a buddy. I'm going to friend him on Facebook.
I wish they would have had
Right
him
after
actually
this.
listening to Meatloaf. You know?
Just
Would
like-
you do anything? Would you do anything? But you won't do that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So what did I miss then? Why? What was the reasoning for him to cause all these problems? The oops, David is doing this by accident. Or oops, oopsie. I mean,
Oh
he's
well,
doing
that's
this-
because he was under the thing of Wayland.
Yeah,
Wayland's
Wayland's telling him what to do.
But how does Wayland know about these creature? Is Wayland telling him go find some goo, put it in some champagne?
Well, he has
you
the
had a good
thing.
point last night. Do you want to reiterate your point from last night, Pete?
What was that? Was it how it was? Must have been awesome.
It was probably.
Why don't you reiterate it? Because I want to just see if you got it.
Okay. It was that Wayland had given David a directive that's kind of it's a general directive, just basically find out anything you can about the alien life if you discover anything, and learn as much as you can, because you don't want to bring me back to life you don't want to wake me up, until you are at a place where you're ready for me, basically. So David has taken that command to be, it's a vague command, so he can kind of do a lot of different things. For example, putting the black goo in Holloway's drink, because even Holloway does say, yes, I would do anything, and then David does it as essentially, well, then I'm going to test this out on you and see what it does, so that I can learn more about this alien species and see if it is something that can help Wayland.
Because it ends up being a decision gate, right? Would you do anything? Yes. Then I can do what I need to do to continue this experiment. And if he says no, then I'm programmed to do something else. We can maybe logically presume. But that's one of the things I like about it, because it was the idea that this android is programmed it executes a complex logic that otherwise, it makes the story more interesting when you see that he's doing things that are for good and ill, to execute what otherwise is just to him an experiment.
When I first saw the movie, and before I read any of the other stuff, I got the impression that it was, it's almost like he was on the clock and off the clock for Wayland. It's like he would be his activities when he was you could tell he was doing things for Wayland were very directed, very like, here I'm washing your feet, here I'm picking things up for you, I'm carrying your books, and whatever he's doing, and he goes and gets things, right? And then there's things that doesn't seem to be directly tied to orders that Wayland would give, like somebody who's trying to, it doesn't seem like he would. It doesn't seem like a dude who has flown here to try to find ways to survive would, maybe he did, but it would use the people that fly the ship as experiments, right? Maybe I'm wrong, but so it almost seemed like some of the stuff David was doing was of his own, not of a accord, and I thought that was a little bit sinister. Like when you start looking at the way he's talking and the way he's experimenting, we're little toys or whatever, which it seemed a little sinister. Where if everything he does is under Wayland, he actually has no. It actually reduces David as a character.
I think that's exactly right, because I think we have to look at David as the arm of Wayland, who is, apart from being a bag of silicone and latex, is otherwise a selfish god.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And David is the arm of this guy, and sometimes the behavior comes off as sinister, and sometimes it doesn't, don't you think?
It's interesting you said selfish god, because you almost, and I think I mentioned this to Andy one time, was there's a engineer human thing, and then the xenomorph, whatever, and then you have this other thing. So we are what they created, right? And the androids are what we created, right? And then the aliens seem to always come back and kill the xenomorphs or whatever in this movie, whatever they're called, seem to destroy their creators. And in at least two of the movies, so both Ridley Scott movies, the android is the destruction of its creators in some way or shape or form. Now, Ash is a little different. Ash was on orders, basically. Yes, all these people are expendable, but it's the android is our, as a race, our creations, and in a lot of the cases, they're what was causing our demise in these movies.
Well, and that's, I think, why Ash is actually such an interesting character, because he is a direct analog to David. I mean, it's really the same motivation. Ash would do, he is a complex machine that does what his program tells him to do. Yeah. I think David is a more interesting character then.
Yeah, and you guys made the point that David was out in the open, and then by the time, if you want to make that analogy, by the time they got to Ash, that they were like, we need to hide these guys and make them look more human, because they can do their job better. They don't know.
Yeah.
David needs a girlfriend.
This has been awesome. Do you anybody have anything else to share before we wrap up? Chad, Andy?
No, not me.
There's so much to
You
say.
just had a turn.
Mike, your whole thing has been a turn, man.
I love it. I feel like we uncorked something.
I told you I've been yelling at you guys for like months.
I feel like we got it all out. No, this was good. This was fun. Did you guys enjoy the hangout experiments?
Yeah.
Experiments. I had a great time. Thank you so much for joining us.
So I have a question. Do we actually
get paid? No, stop.
No. Do we like the reversal of the thing? Did Chad or I help you guys work anything out, or was this just like let's let the loonies play around with the little video camera for a little while?
I love it. No, I think it's great. I love the additional thought. I haven't changed my rating. Still a 4, maybe less.
Maybe less now, right?
Yeah, it's plummeting.
Here, Peter, this will make it less.
I'm gonna go see.
How many road trips did they make back to that spaceship? How many road trips? That'll lessen it. No, it was 3. 3 road trips to that.
Because there was, I think
Shouldn't they just park closer?
They should have parked closer. That would have been better.
Just go.
Just real quick.
Well, then they would have seen the big Skull Mountain, and we didn't want them to see the Skull Mountain.
Because then they would have turned around, and the movie would have been appropriately long.
Right.
What are you guys interested in seeing this coming up? Besides, obviously, Madagascar 3, which is apparently a hit.
That's amazing.
I think in July we should do The Dark Knight Rises.
Absolutely.
Please.
I think we should do Bourne. I think we should do Dark Knight Rises.
That takes us through July and August.
All right. This is going to be good. I'm so glad you guys joined us for this, and we've got a growing list of people. We have a couple people who could not show up tonight. We're going to have an even bigger crew, but we sure appreciate you guys joining us for this. And
Thank
Andy,
you.
do you have any closing marks?
I think this is going to be a fun new addition to our world of movies we like, and I think it's going to be a nice way to continue exploring movies we like and ones we don't.
We should, in our lower thirds, we should add our flick chart address.
Pete, can you please have movies we don't like? I think there should be
I think
just don't like.
Actually, it's not. It's going to be a really more sarcastic title. It's movies we like, with just quotes around it. It may even be movies we like and movies we like. Right?
It's all on the right.
Any combination.
But I like to keep it positive. I don't like to bring in the negative. I feel like that's a good direction for us.
No,
Chad,
I'm just kidding with you. Yeah.
Chad, any closing comments? Any final plugs?
I think, like I told you last night, I thought that this movie would have been better as a comedy. I think it would have been nicer if we could have had some narration by Tom Waits. It would have explained so much. Just anything. And here's the part where they go into the... It would have been so fulfilling to know why they're doing this. She gonna give herself a C-section. Watch it, the robo-surgery.
You're a pretty good Tom Waits.
Oh, that's awesome.
But no, when you said you were doing this, I just about cried. I wanted to talk about it so much. But you guys have done a great job, too. I'm glad we got to actually broach this. And please invite me back
I told you this is your second experience with us, so that means you're an A-list regular. So.
I'm an A-list regular already.
Mike, thanks so much for joining us, man.
My pleasure. Next time I'll promise not to talk as much.
Nice meeting you, Mike.
We should do we'll do a movie that you've only seen half of. How about that?
Just invite me to a movie that I haven't seen, and I'll be just like this all the time.
I'll bet you can come up with something. This is awesome, gentlemen. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and sign off the live broadcast. For those who have been joining us for the Hangout, thank you so much for joining us. We are thrilled to have you here. Make sure you subscribe to the regular podcast, Movies We Like, in iTunes, or your favorite podcatcher of choice. You can find us at rashpixel.tv/MWL, and subscribe to us there, and leave a review of the show in iTunes. It really helps us and helps other people who to find the show and discover the show. And I'm sure there are other tools that you could use to find the show, and Mike's going to come up with a list of all the different ways I've ruined his life, and all the new tools that I have introduced to him.
I have them all.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Signing off.
The words of
Thanks,
Captain
everybody.
Yannick. Hands up! Come on, you guys. Hands